And Roseanne Cash tonight. Crush presents Roseanne Cash along with John Leventhal. It's happening Wells Fargo Center for the Arts tonight. Showtime 8 o'clock. Tickets still available 546-3600. Online wellsfargocenterarts.org. Speaking of Roseanne, just inducted to the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. Here's Money Road from the latest on the Crush 95.9.
We are with local broadcast legend Bill Bowker. You hear him on the Crush. You've heard him everywhere forever. I mean, like, seriously, you are a local institution.
Okay, yes. Well, since 1979, moved up here from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a few years.
Santa Rosa was only founded in 1977. So
you know, that's true. You know, I came. There were some city fathers that.
Right.
That tried to keep me away, but it didn't work. Coming out of Los Angeles up to here, a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
You know, when it was a redwood empire as opposed to wine country.
Right.
Yeah. So came up with some people that bought a station from Los Angeles. Formats were getting tighter in Los Angeles. He said, "Let's come on up and we'll put a station on." And the station was already on.
Yeah.
But yes, so I've been here and I'm happy to be here.
That's great. And you were already in the game in LA. What was your first station?
My first station, 1969, is when I came on radio. It was actually the weekend of Woodstock, upstate New York.
So you were invited to Woodstock.
Yeah, so I went the other way and I went up to Ventura. Getting out of radio school, my first job was at a country station all night. Never heard country, but it was a step in the door.
Yeah.
But then I'm realizing there was some really blues involved with Hank Williams, Merle Haggard. These people were singing blues.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I turned along with another friend our FM in Ventura to an underground. That was the days of freeform underground radio, which I'm really happy I had a chance to get into.
Yeah.
Because my love of music would allow me to be able to play all kinds of music, including blues, on a station. What
is it about the blues? I mean, I get it, but that seems to have been the sort of like where your love of music really began.
Yeah, well, it's the honesty of it. I was young in New Jersey, born in New Jersey. My first recollection of music that really touched me was listening to a station out of Newark, New Jersey, a primarily blues, rhythm and blues station. I heard Howlin' Wolf doing Evil, and it just scared me. And I said, this is it. It just meant so much. And I was coming from sort of an upper middle class suburban New Jersey area, which wasn't a blues mecca, but there was something about that. Maybe it was because it was so scary and real.
Yeah, and it reached you, and then as you've been able to, you've curated like entire blues experiences for your listeners ever since. It sounds like.
Seems like it. Yeah. And I mean, it always goes, like you say, it always goes back to that music, that feel. And I've been able to, with the advent of freeform radio in those days, make sure that was an important part throughout my programs, whatever it may be, you know.
Do you feel you're sort of a blues conservationist in a way? Like, I mean, it's not like
I'm not a real purist, you know. I mean, some people, I'm not a. I kind of want to keep it going, and I think it's still going to go. And it seems there's projects I get involved with. It does go back to the roots of it.
Yeah.
So, but as far as a purist, you know, I do listen and, you know, like blues rock and all of that.
Yeah.
But people get concerned about whether or not it's going to go away, and it's always going to be there. I mean, there's always somebody that's trying to become the next blues-based rocker. Now it's Gary Clark Jr. is the new guy coming out of Austin, the savior from Stevie Ray Vaughan and all that. But they love blues as well. So I think it's still going to be around.
Blues is interesting in that it's both expressive. It's a way that you can project your own feelings into it and have them expressed for you.
Yeah.
But it also is so, as in your case early on, so effective.
Yeah.
And can almost cause those feelings.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
really-
there's things I didn't understand as a teenager or a younger teenager growing up. I go, man, these guys are going through that. But at the end of all of that, there's salvation, which some people think, oh, the blues is just, despair and everything. But there's salvation at the end of the song. These people are getting through it.
Yeah.
It just really touched me.
Do you have to be American to appreciate the blues?
No. I mean, from what you hear, all these people that, like in Japan, they love the blues. England, when the English invasion came, I might have raised my eyebrows a few times at some of that, but I've talked to other people. Muddy Waters had no problem with it, or maybe Howlin' Wolf did.
About the process.
About the process of, but these people loved it, and no. I mean
was
there's
it-
a lot of blues going on around the world.
But was it cultural appropriation when, like, the Brits took the blues and sold it back to America as the British invasion style rock?
I'm not sure. It was probably the record labels, of course. I mean, it had nothing to do with the artists.
Because the artists were fans. They were fans first. I think.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
And in terms of your fans, like, how is it that you've cultivated this cult of personality around you, where you stayed in this market and
yes, and that's very rare in radio. I did leave L.A. Like I mentioned, I was working in Hollywood. The general manager of K West, one of the stations I worked there. I worked at K Rock after K West.
Oh, wow.
Was looking at radio stations and bought from a local company here, KVRE.
Right.
And as, excuse me, like I said, formats were tightening up in the late 70s. People, all of a sudden, FM became a big thing, and then consultants came in and they just wanted it mainstream. And this one owner, John Detz, had a cadre of people said, "You want to move up north?" And I figured, well, yeah. Well, don't know how long we're going to go. I brought my wife and daughter up, and I've been here since then. I mean, the county's always been inventive, and used to be, they called it quirky years ago or whatever. But I found that people were so accepting of everything we're doing. And a lot of it had to do with blues. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to show everybody what the blues is about. I just came up and started getting involved and loving it.
And you got deeply involved, and it's kind of a fixture in the blues community. And we'll come back to that after our break here. We're with Bill Bowker from The Crush and local broadcast legend.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
And we're back with Bill Bowker. You know him from The Crush. You know him if you've been near a radio anywhere in Sonoma County in the last 30 years. He's also a blues aficionado, and we were just talking about how you've invested yourself in the blues community. And I mean, you've got some great friends in this racket. Charlie Musselwhite is a local, more or less. Who's, how is it that you became associated with these guys? Because you're not a player.
No. In fact, when Dan Taylor was on your show, he talked about the lack of patience to learn an instrument. So I totally agreed with him on that.
Yeah.
I tried drums for a bit, very little of a harmonica. I didn't have that. I loved music so much, and it seemed like I always wanted to be on radio because there was a lot of personality going on in those years, and mentors, and and the like. But to meet Musselwhite was before he moved up here. I was booking shows. I got involved early with the Sonoma County Blues Society. We were booking shows out on the river, the Red Barn. Excuse me. Booking shows at the Red Barn, different places, and just Charlie and I hit it off. He was living in Richmond at that time.
Oh, interesting.
And there were times where I would find gigs for him around the Northern California area, and we just sort of, hit it off then. He came up and lived in Santa Rosa, now lives up further north, and we've been friends for a long time.
That's really great. Yeah.
It really is, yeah, and realizing Charlie's keeps getting more and more busy, although he keeps saying he's going to take it easy, but he gets connected with like the Ben Hart.
Yeah.
So with Charlie and other people, I just kind of started hanging out and liking them, and
It's
they
part of the
liked
network
me.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like, oh, I'm going to do something for him. I just liked, Charlie's a very amusing guy. He tries to keep that away from people at times, but
Because he's got to be a serious blues guy.
yeah, right. Yeah. But no, that and some people that were living in Sonoma County that I got connected with the Austin music scene.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just became friends with a lot of these people.
But your network goes beyond musicians, of course. I know you had a partnership with Doug Smith
Right.
Early on. Let's talk a little bit about how that took shape. And-
Doug was great. Doug, we met at the Studio Cafe, I believe it was.
Right, we had Durand on.
Yeah,
John,
yeah. All right.
John Durand.
It was a great place. It was so ahead of its time. People still talk about that. What it was the radio. Well, it was a cable radio station at a nightclub. And had we had the benefit of streaming then, it would have been great.
I know, it's so internet ready. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, Doug and I met there. Also, he worked with us on when KVRE was bought by a corporate entity. We ended up going to an AM to try to do the KVRE format and call it KRVE, just to try to keep it going. And we were going to hook up with the Studio Cafe for them on cable and us on AM.
Right.
And then Doug and I started working, and we found that we could probably book a few acts and make absolutely no money.
Well, that's the idea,
Well,
right?
that was, it wasn't, no, and Doug was connected. He did work, he worked at Rosebud, different agencies throughout the years too. And we just started, booking various venues. And we started with the Sonoma County Blues Festival at one point at the fairgrounds. And then we went, the Studio Cafe.
Right.
In different venues, yeah.
And now you're on the cusp of starting a new venue, or new venture at least, and venue, Clarksdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is huge.
Oh, this is great. Charlie took us down to Clarksdale around 12 years ago or so. It's the birthplace of the blues, and we stayed at some friends' house, and it's just the feeling I get out of that place. It's amazing, the vibe, and it's
Not just but Mississippi in general, or just Clarksdale?
Just Clarksdale.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't get into too much of other Mississippi. We were kind of not looking to say, but going down Highway 61 and into that, and the people that are moving there, that are going there for the right reason, to really try to make it more for tourists to come out there. Morgan Freeman's really helped in that area.
Yeah.
And it's special.
So
to
what's
me.
what's the scope of the vision?
Well, basically, another friend of ours, a developer from here, came out there too, and had that same feeling. And
Charles Evans. Yes.
Pardon?
Charles Evans?
Charles
Yeah,
Evans.
got it,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
And so now he goes, well, let's get a radio station. So there was projects, looking into maybe getting one a few years back. That didn't happen, but now we have a low power that we have to get on pretty soon, which we're gearing up for.
Yeah.
So it's basically coming out of Clarksdale, Mississippi, the birthplace of the blues, and it will be internet as well, so we can get out in hopes of getting more people aware of what's going on. I mean, we don't want to, the people down there don't want to make it like a Branston or,
Right.
it's for blues lovers, and people are coming out there. And so very soon we'll have that on.
You're not going to leave Sonoma County.
No.
You're going to pipe in from here.
Yeah, well, also we'll have people down there and
Yeah.
go down, get a chance to go down there a little more. I'm only going right now twice a year, but a little more. There's some other projects. You know, Charlie's recorded down there. Anyway, it's a growth and it's a love.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something I'm like really fired up about again. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's elements of it that comes to be a job, but
Right.
not when I'm on the air, you know, or not something like I'm building again, you know, because maybe I've done as much damage as I can in Sonoma County, you know. I'm not, you know, I
don't think you've peaked yet. I think you've got a lot of room.
There's times to think about that.
But when you're on the air, do you get like what they call that flow state? You know, where you know, time just flies and you're in your moment. Yeah,
there are times. Yeah, I mean, there's like my Bloooz show's on every Sunday night, 7 to 10, and there's times like it goes by real quick. I mean, the afternoon shift is, I get that feeling.
Yeah.
There is that flow. There is that, okay, I'm like getting in the zone a little, and that still happens, you know.
On the rare occasions that I get to sit in for Steve Jackson
Yeah.
at KSRO, it's a 3-hour block, and it's always intimidating going into it.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I'm like, what happened? I was like,
well, that's an act. I mean, that's like every minute you're here,
on.
I could kick back and listen to the music.
Right,
I could
true.
still do that. I mean,
That's
you're
true.
just on all the time. So Steve,
Yeah, but that's a good point. You do get to like.
I mean, there is an element, or if I want to stretch out and put a longer, you know, whatever, you know. Steve and I were born, well, not the same year, but same birthday.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's come back to that in the local radio scene in a second here. We're with Bill Bowker from The Crush, local broadcast legend.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
And we're with Bill Bowker, local radio personality with The Crush and other stations throughout his illustrious career. We were talking a little bit about the local scene and the personalities that have come and gone, but guys like you and Jackson have really stuck it out and really have created a listenership for yourselves, really dedicated fans.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're suggesting earlier that the scene has, not this scene, but radio in general has changed so much that people aren't getting into it for the love of music.
They aren't. And I mean, the fact of clusters buying, the all, everybody, the Clear Channel,
Right.
and all those. And that's true. I mean, they're plug-in jocks. They do 2 or 3, stations. They're not building up a personality at all, or I think mornings maybe still are doing that. But you look at the majority of stations in every market. I mean, we're an exception, but they're a dime a dozen. They really are. They're just so.
But how is it that you've been able to maintain?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very fortunate. Sonoma County has always had very eclectic taste, educated listeners. I mean, we're an upper demo station that owners go get those younger people, but we have people with disposable income that care, they still go out, and Sonoma County's always been that way. And I think there's some younger people that would, given the chance, like to listen. But it's right, they're not. Some colleges are working that way. There's a college in Mississippi, there's one upstate New York, and I think Nate with K-Sun's trying that locally, Nate Campbell, who used to work at The Crush, trying to get people to maybe be a little more adventurous, on the air. But I have, going back to me, I'm fortunate. I've always been having creative control throughout the years, and it works because people are still listening, and the sponsors are still, buying.
Yeah. What about podcasting? How do you feel about that evolution?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a good thing, But once again, going back,
it's a different thing. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
It's, I'm still this, it's broadcast radio still, I
There is
feel like Jackson too. I mean, he's, probably doesn't want, I don't want to leave the area, which I don't,
And having a live mic, that is something very special and rare.
And the activity going around,
Yeah. And the sort of the juggling,
That's it. Yeah.
There's a buzz there. I mean, you can't get that from a podcast.
Right.
Yeah. However, podcasts are successful, I think, because they can speak to a niche, right?
That's true.
And they're niche driven. And so I'm sure there's a ton of blues.
No,
podcasts.
yes, there are.
Yeah.
I mean, that is good. I mean, there's, I'm not sure about the Pandoras and everything because you're being told I just have a hard time being told what to listen to.
Well, so you curate a playlist. You say, this is what I think this audience needs to hear today, and here's this vast catalog of selections that you've developed.
That's
over the years.
pre-planning.
Well, maybe you're winging it. I don't know, but there's a song
to a degree. There are some I go, okay, this would fit today or whatever. But
you're taking your listeners on a ride ultimately.
Yes,
right? If song by song, whatever. Pandora though does it algorithmically.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah.
There's a computer that is choosing.
But it does make people aware of other artists because I do get calls about saying there's a Paul Thorne Pandora and then there's this guy Patrick Sweeney. Who's he? Yeah. And so I'll play it for him. So they do.
So you feel like you have a need to educate a little bit too, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I still like the emerging artist. I still like somebody new that excites me. That I still like a lot.
Well, who should we listen to now? I mean, if we want to two things, like where do we start with the blues and where should we end up with the blues?
Okay, well, I mean, the Robert Johnson and everything, it's really good. There's a lot of Mississippi. I mean, there's more Mississippi acts in the Grammy Museum, which there's a Grammy Museum being built in Mississippi.
It's like a Blues Hall of Fame kind of thing?
No, it's a Grammy. It's just the only other Grammy Hall of Fame place because there's so many musicians that are Grammy Award winners that come from Mississippi. Right. I don't know, a lot of that. I'd go with there's a guy coming out of Clarksdale now, 16, called Kingfish, who's just so real. He's not like some of these younger kids are novelties, but go back to some of the earlier Buddy guys and just whatever grabs you. But go into you can't go wrong with Robert Johnson. Maybe Son House. I mean, technically, musically it's great, but I mean the technical aspect might be a little raw, but that's okay.
Cool though. Yeah.
I mean but you're right. You can go online. There's a lot of blues. Just grab something. Yeah. I can't really pick out something.
You can't give us a playlist right now?
No, it's all playlist driven, folks.
But I one time I met John Lee Hooker. I actually did a Lee Jeans commercial with him, and they were Lee Jeans was looking for anyone with Lee in their name. So they got John Lee Hooker, and he actually had a double that they set up around, and then they'd bring him in to do his thing, and he was a cool guy,
Oh yeah. He used to do interviews on his bed watching baseball, when he lived in Gilroy. He had those great socks he'd wear out too. So I got to meet Hooker. Yeah, I mean, through Musselwhite. John Lee was his best man at Charlie's wedding to Henrietta.
Oh wow.
At a bar in San Francisco in the old days.
Yeah. So what's next for you in the grand scheme of things? Besides, you got Clarksdale. Is that the big?
Pretty much that. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing this. I mean, I do shows. We do Earl Fest, yearly Roots thing. I do a Coahoma to Sonoma County Blues Festival at Lagunitas. Coahoma County is where Clarksdale's in, and Sonoma, and it makes kind of a good rhymes. And I bring out a Mississippi act here, and then we have a nonprofit. We help out in Clarksdale for that. And
when are you going to start a venue here, Bill? You got to, take your Station Cafe model.
Okay. Right? Yeah.
Get Charlie Musselwhite and a webcam.
Okay. This has been a topic of conversation. Santa Rosa really could use a venue. We see other towns kind of.
Yeah.
This has been brought up through various people throughout the years. If somebody would do that, I mean, at this stage of the game, I'd love to be involved as far as booking and maybe have. I always thought Musselwhite's would be a good name for a club.
Yeah.
Anything?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a few phone calls away, man. You know, you could jump on the phone and.
Yeah, right.
you know.
Okay. I won't be to like announce something here. Well, if you,
Drum roll.
that would be that would be very enticing.
Yes.
It would be. I think that would really get the juices flowing again, and I think
Okay.
it could benefit.
You got to promise me to come back on for the big announcement.
Yeah.
We're going to launch Musselwhites.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we got to sign off. This is Bill Bowker.
All right.
You know, from the Crush.
I appreciate
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, it's a good time. I hope you come back. Yeah.
You bet.
Good time.
Thank you. All right.